CNBC-TV18.
Well, it's that time again. It's Mad About Markets, and today Ritu and I are going to discuss something extremely special, Ritu.
It is because, it's all over, especially up in the air, right? With Chandrayaan, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. It's actually the drones because, with the ideaForge IPO and whatnot, that's really been on top of mind and on top of our heads.
Worrying sound that we have, it's literally taking off the industry. I mean, what can I say? It's magical.
We hope it doesn't crash land like that, but we'll tell you more in just a bit.
So let's dive straight in. This looks like a cute little hobbyist thing, but that's what it is. From an industry standpoint, it's being used in a lot of places, but at the same time, investors, they are lapping up on anything drones.
I mean, if the recent IPOs are anything to go by.
Or Zentek, which has rallied, over 250% this year itself.
Just from the use of the word drone, like you said, right? So let's talk about the uses of drones because, the first known use of drones was for defense purposes. Naturally, that was by Israel in the Arab-Israeli war back in 1973. But since then, their applications have expanded rapidly, with the United States also adopting them for military operations in the 1990s. Now, drones are revolutionizing multiple sectors, and that includes your defense, civil services, agriculture, media and entertainment, mapping, surveying, as well as logistics and delivery. And these are just to name a few. Their versatility and efficiency makes them an invaluable asset across various industries. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Mad About Markets. I'm Ritu Singh, and with me as always, Mangalam Maloo.
Well, so let's go straight in. We invited the drone guests. Let's talk about the people themselves. We have Ankit Mehta, who's the co-founder and CEO of ideaForge, the IPO that everyone's been talking about. Agnishwar Jayaprakash, who's the founder and CEO of Garuda Aerospace, joins in too. Gentlemen, thank you for joining in. Agnishwar, I mean, the question that begets asking is, what really happened in the last few years for the drone industry to suddenly get so much attention? Anything specific?
I would say there was a forcible adoption post the COVID period, and the pandemic definitely helped in the automation. But I believe that the liberalization of the drone rules in 2020 and 21 had a lot to do with a lot of investors as well as companies like Garuda Aerospace scaling up. We were also greatly benefited as a company as well as an industry when the Honorable Prime Minister launched 100 of Garuda's drones in 100 different locations. Traditionally, we have seen only drones being adopted in the B2G defense as well as large government departments using them. But we have started to see, especially in the last couple of years, consumers and private industries adopting drone-based technologies to increase efficiency and reduce expenses.
The Indian government has taken some significant steps to embrace this technology. In July 2022 itself, the Defense Ministry approved a budget of approximately $88 million to acquire drones for various purposes. And soon after, in October 2022, several requests for proposals were issued, including procurement plans for military surveillance, special forces, Himalayan surveillance, and border activity tracking as well. In order to encourage the growth of the drone industry, the Indian government has also relaxed several guidelines. Drones are now permitted to operate within green zones, and non-commercial use of micro drones no longer requires any remote pilot license, which was earlier difficult to get by. Additionally, foreign-owned or controlled Indian companies face no restrictions in operating drones within the country. And that's not all. The government has also allowed drones to carry heavier payloads, expanding their capabilities. So maybe soon the logistics industry will get some more usage of drones too.
And one of the biggest drivers for all of this has been the Make in India push. That initiative has played a crucial role in fostering the growth of the drone industry. Now, the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, or the PLI scheme as we know it, that aims to attract an investment of $600 million, creating 10,000 jobs in the sector. The amendment of the drone rules in 2021 and the ban on drone imports, that also further encourages domestic production of drones, which is boosting the country's self-reliance in this sector. Now, the Swamitra scheme, which was launched in April of 2021, that focuses on establishing clear ownership of property in rural areas. And by leveraging geospatial technology in drones, the scheme aims to provide a record of rights to village household owners, which grants them legal ownership cards. So multiple uses there, and over 6 lakh villages are now being mapped, and a 3D pan-India mapping of 100 Indian cities is also underway as we speak.
That's about the opportunities that the Indian governments, the platform the Indian government is providing for the drone industry. But the PLI scheme, you spoke about that. Ankit, I just wanted to know, how is the industry de-risking from the PLI? Will there be any economic unviability if the PLI is taken away or post-sunset?
If you look at the overall, construct of the business, and if you look at just the regular gross margins that the business has, the business is very healthy in that one sense. And as the business is growing and as the overall market opportunity is growing, I don't think the PLI scheme has to be looked at as an incentive for indigenization for more and more technology areas and more opportunities, rather than it being looked at as the driver for profits in this industry. I think by the time the industry or the PLI scheme goes towards the sunset side of the house, we will see that the industry will be significantly larger. And if the industry is built with the right unit economics in mind, as well as the right overall business structure, I do not expect that to be the crutch that the industry will need to be competitive from a global standpoint as well.
Well, the global drone market has witnessed some impressive growth. In 2018, it stood at $10.4 billion, but by 2021, it had already reached $17.7 billion. Now, projections estimate that by 2027, a few years ahead, the market could reach a staggering $51.4 billion, and by 2030, it could be an astounding $91.3 billion. Close to $100 billion is what we're talking about. Now, these figures highlight the tremendous potential for growth and the innovation in this drone industry.
$91 billion, almost $100 billion. So let's talk about what constitutes this, billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just take a look at it, within the drone industry is the defense industry, which earlier accounted for 61% of the total industry. Understandable, because that's where, drones actually started to gain popularity. But now going forward, it is likely to be less contributing. In fact, the largest contribution will come in from places like enterprise as well as logistics itself. Defense's contribution in the overall logistics industry, it's not to say that defense as an absolute level will decline. Instead, the requirement for all the other industries and the applicability of drones in all other industries will increase massively. So 61% turns into 25%, not by shrinking, but by everything else rising in an exponential manner.
As we talk about the India market always, right, growing the pie, even though defense's share will remain large. Well, drone logistics, for instance, that is a small market right now, but it is likely to be a $33 billion industry come 2030. Defense, we already told you about, $23 billion of opportunity in the enterprise section. From $7.1 billion currently, it is expected to grow to $28 billion. And similarly, consumer is expected to almost double to $6.6 billion come 2030. So that is the size of the opportunity we're talking about, Mangalam.
Well, Agnishwar, just from a business standpoint, wanted to understand what are the sources of revenues in the drone industry? Is it manufacturing? Is it components? Is it drone as a service? And what is the aggregate size?
When you take a look at the avenues for revenue, so to speak, you can broadly classify it into three: drone sales, like revenues that comes out of product sales; drone services, revenues that come out of any form of industrial, agricultural, consumer drone services that you provide to our customers; and the data monetization and how you are able to generate advisory services based on the data that is being collected by either a drone sale or a drone service. And I think that, India has particularly been right now in a $3 to $4 billion market size in terms of drones as a services as well as the data aspect, because we have seen the massive adoption of drone services being utilized in agricultural spraying for pesticides and fertilizers. Farmers are currently spending 20 to 25,000 crores every single year to get their fields sprayed, and they're using inefficient manual spraying technologies, and now drone is disrupting that. So apart from that, you're seeing in several events and photography and consumer segments and industrial services that drones are playing a major role. traditionally you would see that drone sales is considerably a smaller market compared to drone services. That entire market in 2021 was about 300 crores, and but that is now gradually increasing. And I believe that in 2023-24, the drone sales market alone would touch anywhere between 800 to 1,000 crores. And Garuda Aerospace will have a lion's share because we are already sitting on about 10,000 drones pre-booked for our agricultural Kisan drones that has been endorsed by Mahendra Singh Dhoni. And at the same time, we're also seeing progressive government policies like loan for drones and also 50% subsidies for these agricultural drones, which is driving that adoption. So I believe over the next year and a half to 2 years, the Indian drone ecosystem alone would be upwards of $3.5 billion, primarily contributed from drones as a services, especially in precision agriculture and in the consumer demand.
Well, a $3.5 billion opportunity in 2 years. But Ankit, what about exports as a percentage of sales? What is the opportunity there? How much can it grow?
So we have to realize that presently our sales from international business has been very small. And the reason has been that if you see what's happened after pandemic, the ability to even travel was a very, very limited opportunity in the last few years. But now that the markets and the travel is opening up, we have set up a subsidiary in the US, and we are creating the ability to do demonstrations and to take our systems there in the US market as well. Therefore, we will see the establishment of our ability to showcase our products there in this year, and we will start seeing results out of that hopefully from the next year onwards.
Let's shift focus to the Indian market itself. Globally, the potential is what, $91
billion, yes.
Wow. Let's talk about India. In 2022, the Indian market was valued at $2.71 billion. The defense sector accounting for majority of it, as expected, $1.28 billion. Logistics was just $0.76 billion, and enterprise was about $500 million. Consumer at $0.1 billion, and passenger logistics, which is a possibility, would be $0.08 billion.
Well, that's hard to imagine. Passenger logistics and drones.
We've actually done that. Drones have the capability of taking people as well. But these figures are the ones that demonstrate the growing importance of drones in various sectors within India itself, Ritu.
Well, let's talk about that then. The Indian drone industry, that has immense potential to become the hub of the world when we talk about drones. Now, projections estimate that by 2030, the defense sector alone, that could be worth over 1 lakh crore rupees, while the commercial sector could be about 75,000 crores. And you have a focus on indigenization, increasing addressable market, opportunities for exports, and India's drone industry, therefore, is poised for a remarkable growth and worth about 1.8 lakh crores as of 2030. And this is as per an EY-FICCI report. That's the large size of the opportunity. Like you said, defense, of course, has the largest pie so far.
And what do you do to get the maximum out of that opportunity? In fact, quoting from that EY-FICCI report itself, they have recommendations to fully realize the potential of the Indian drone industry. Certain steps is, what they recommend, they must be taken. Allocating anywhere between 5 to 10% of the defense capital budget to drones is something that they suggest. Simplifying the tendering process, providing easy financing for drone manufacturing, and formulating policy frameworks for testing sites is something that we'll have to watch out for. Increasing localization efforts and obtaining permissions for drone demonstration in other countries. If you've flown out with a drone, you know how difficult it is to actually go through the customs there. So easing that and all the other elements will actually lead to faster growth in this industry.
Well, let me bring in the guests again. At that point, then, Agnishwar, what is the average price of a drone that you sell? And, with all of this effort, policy intervention and whatnot, is the price going to come down?
I think there is going to be a significant amount of cost reduction that will happen over the next 3 to 5 years. I don't see costs declining in the on the short term, especially in the next 6 months to maybe 2 to 3 years, primarily because the market is too huge and there are very few number of companies that can offer that at scale, at quality, and at a good price point as well. When you take the agricultural, the Garuda Kisan drone that we are selling and what we have pre-booked over 10,000 units for, we roughly sell it about 4 lakh rupees to our dealers and distributors. We have a pan-India channel network of over 700 dealers and distributors in 400 districts. they ultimately sell it to the end user, who is the rural entrepreneur, the custom hiring center, FPO, FPCs, or any form of service providers who will ultimately buy it from the dealer distributor and then provide services to the farmers, because the farmers are not the target market for our drones at all. It will be much like how not every farmer owns a tractor, not every farmer will own a drone. India has 90% of small and marginal farmers whose average landholding pattern is 1 to 1.5 acres. So they will not benefit from drone as a product. They will benefit from drones as a service. But what Garuda has done very well is in terms of introducing this Uberized gig economy network of rural entrepreneurs who buy our drones and provide these services. And I feel that when it comes to the consumer drone that we sell, the Dhoni drone, which we will be launching in the next 15 to 20 days, named after MS Dhoni, of course, we will be in the price point of about 75 to 80,000 rupees, 75,000 to our dealer distributors, about 80 to maybe 85,000 rupees to the consumers, and that is much lesser than what you can possibly get in terms of the current market scenario. And I believe that these two are going to be major drivers to our revenues, which we foresee will touch anywhere between 400 to 420 crores optimistically this year.
We talk about the opportunities, so let's see what's on hand. Ankit, what's your current order book and how many orders do you expect this year?
When we look at the drone industry over the last few years, we've backed several large opportunities as far as surveillance drones are concerned, which could be carried on a backpack in the field and deployed at last mile for keeping watch on our borders or for using in security surveillance, low intensity conflict applications, etc. So those were a part of, some of those procurements were a part of the regular capital procurement route. Some of them were part of the emergency procurement route that we have, or what is known as the fast track procurement route. So that fast track procurement is continuing at this point in time. At least the opportunities that were released under the fast track procurement last year are under conclusion at this point in time, and several of those opportunities were participated in by us and are currently under conclusion, some of them.
All right, hold on to that thought. What we'll do is take a short break. On the other side of this break, we will, as always, discuss the yays and the mays of the drone industry.
And ask the bigger question, and that is going to be on your screens. That is, will the Indian drone industry take off or crash land? That and more when we return.